In our experience, there's really three options when it comes to senior attorneys considering selling their law firms. As senior attorneys are considering selling their law practices, the best, the ideal, what we call the preferred buyer is a growing law firm, because growing law firms, they need the book of business of senior attorney-led firms. They also need the experienced workforce that senior attorney-led firms present, those key employee lawyers and experienced support staff. And more now that we're in the mid-2020s and we're in what we call that 3.0 digital era for the legal industry, growing law firms need the digital content that senior attorney-led firms have in treasure troves. Now let's look at the second option. The second option, what we call the potential option, when it comes to the options for selling a law firm is an internal sale. That is your senior associate, your junior partner, or if even thinking of recruiting in an attorney to be able to work at your firm and to take over the practice. We call that the potential option because by and large, what we see in our experience is that there's really four false expectations that potential option is built upon. That is, we assume that an internal successor, a key employee lawyer at a senior attorney-led firm, we assume, or senior attorneys assume, that they are going to want to shift at some point from being a key employee lawyer to becoming a law firm owner. And here's really the four reasons why that doesn't happen. First and foremost is that senior attorneys at some point hired their key employee lawyers because they needed to hire a lawyer to fulfill a job. Well, those lawyers that joined your firm, they also had an expectation that they were being hired to do a job. They wanted a job then, and they really only want a job now. Second is that your key employee lawyers, they went to law school and not to business school. They want, by and large, to practice law, to practice the profession, their trade, and not in terms of had they gone to business school and be entrepreneurial, that they want to aspire to own and grow the firm that their bosses built. They just went to law school and not to business school. The third reason why your internal key employee lawyer doesn't want to purchase your practice is they just can't afford to. They've got so many other expenses going on in their lives. They're paying for their home mortgages. Heck, they're still paying down their student debt. They're starting to save for their own retirement. They've got their monthly expenses. They're thinking about the next big vacation they want to take their family on. Heck, the second home they would love to be able to afford. And when they are thinking about buying their boss's law firm, it's often just a bridge too far. They just can't afford it. And then lastly, for whatever reason, and we see this a lot in the marketplace, is that key employee lawyers, they just assume that their boss is never going to retire, right? Boss is the first one to get to the office in the morning, last one often to leave, is generating all of the business, pays all of the bills. It's just easier to assume that, heck, my boss is never going to retire anyhow, so I don't even need to think about purchasing the practice. Hence, it is the potential option we just don't see very often in the marketplace, that your key employee lawyers are going to turn the switch on from key employee to business owner and offer to purchase their boss's law practice. The third option that senior attorneys have when it comes to selling their law firms is really like not a full-fledged option, but many senior attorneys pursue this one, which is to maintain your status quo, right? That is, by not selling, okay, in some respects, it is a form of sale because we have to think about value, right? We want to sell something. We will, of course, want to sell at a higher value. And what we're seeing, particularly now that we are in what we call the 3.0 digital era, that is post-2020, laws and industry finally caught up digitally. The digital disruption has entered into our industry. And by maintaining the status quo of assuming that today is going to be like yesterday and tomorrow is going to be like today, what we are seeing among senior attorney-led firms is that their short-term revenues are actually going down. The short-term revenues, that is year over year,